You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. Hey everyone, this is Jim for SDC International Shipping. Today we're going to talk about why you shouldn't hire the cheapest international moving company. Now that may sound obvious to you, but we're going to dig into some of the details and hopefully give you something to really think about when it comes to planning who you're going to hire, who you're going to entrust your life, basically all your life valuables to as you go through an international moving process. Now, when it comes to moving internationally, let's just start with the obvious. Having the right moving company is going to be crucial to the success of the entire project. And I think that's a good way to look at it. Look at it like a project. When you're hiring someone to do a project, you want somebody that has the experience, the skills, and the ability to adjust to whatever your specific needs are. And I know that sometimes people are thinking, well, moving is moving. People put things in boxes and they move them from point A to point B. But there's really a lot more that goes into this entire process. So when you're aware of this, then the cheapest option is not always the most appealing option once you consider all of the other factors that are involved in this. So first of all, let's just start with bait and switch estimates. This isn't particular, of course, just to the moving industry. We see this all over. This way of doing business, unfortunately, has been around for years. When you have an unreliable company that you're dealing with, oftentimes they do what's known as bait and switch. They may initially provide you with a quote that seems too good to be true, only to increase the price later on. And this leads to unexpected costs as you go through the process, unexpected costs at the end. And it puts you under a financial strain at a time when strain is definitely something you do not need any more of. Next, we can talk about things like unprofessionalism and lack of insurance. Cheap moving companies are often unregistered. Some, believe it or not, even operate illegally. And this means that they may not offer insurance or take the proper safety precautions because they're cutting corners when handling your belongings. When you hire that kind of company, you inadvertently put your possessions at risk of damage or loss without any recourse for compensation. There, I have this little graphic that I'm looking at. It says bait and switch. In retail sales, when customers are lured by advertisements for a product at a low price and then find that the product is not available or a more expensive substitute is going to be needed. So that's another way of looking at the bait and switch process overall. Next are things like scams and fraudulent practices. Low rates offered by some moving companies can be the sign, unfortunately, of a moving scam. Fraudulent companies offer these enticingly low prices to lure in unsuspecting customers who've never gone through a process like this before. Unfortunately, once a company has your belongings, they may hold these belongings hostage or even disappear with them entirely at times, leaving you with a loss on your hands. Next comes hidden fees and unforeseen costs. This is a big one. Some cheap movers may intentionally avoid disclosing all of their fees up front. This lack of transparency can lead to an unexpected charge or charges, multiple charges down the line. And the end result is you have a much higher bill than you initially anticipated or planned for. So it's important to have a clear understanding of all of the costs involved in your move to avoid any surprises at the end. Next are things like poor service and inadequate resources. Cheap movers often lack the experience, they lack the expertise and the resources necessary to provide a top quality service. And this can result in a range of problems, including things like damaged items, lost items, delays in delivery, and a general lack of professionalism overall. By investing in a reputable moving company, even if it means paying a little more, it does ensure a smoother and more reliable moving experience. Again, it goes back to that old saying that you get what you pay for. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So in summary, while the lure of saving money may be tempting, of course, hiring the cheapest international moving company comes with significant risks and other potential drawbacks. So it's essential to conduct a thorough research before making a choice. Read the reviews and choose a reputable moving company that's going to prioritize your belongings' safety as well as delivering a quality service. Now, we can look at some of the signs of what we might call a moving scam. So you don't want to fall victim to scams. There are scams in every marketplace that you can imagine today. But here are just some of the things to watch out for when it comes to moving scams. Number one is a large down payment. A legitimate moving company usually requires a small down payment. Typically, on average, it's 20% or less of the total cost. SDC International Shipping, for example, does not require upfront deposits, nor do we charge the credit card upfront for 99% of all of our jobs. Next is the cash-only payment. If a moving company insists on cash payments only, then that raises suspicions that may indicate that there's some fraudulent practices going on with the company and with their entire moving process. Next, extremely low rates. Rates significantly lower than that of other moving companies should raise concerns about the legitimacy of how that company is conducting their business. Next, no logo or address that you can find anywhere. The lack of a company logo or a physical address can indicate that the movers are really not a legitimate business. They might just be a third party that takes your money and then hires out the cheapest moving labor or services possible and then pockets the difference. That's something you definitely don't want. Next, no bill of lading. A bill of lading is a legal document outlining the terms and conditions of the move. If a moving company fails to provide one, that also suggests an extreme lack of professionalism. Next, issues with scheduling and responsiveness. Difficulty in scheduling or unresponsive communication are red flags indicating potential problems both in the both in the short term and long term. Next, not being licensed by the FMCSA and ensuring that the moving company is licensed by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. That's what's known as the acronym FMCSA. If you're not licensed by them, if the company isn't, then they're not really what you would consider an authorized mover. They're an unauthorized mover. You don't want to join with a company that's not licensed by them. Next, we can look at the other end of the pricing spectrum, complaints about higher prices. Customer reviews complaining about the significantly higher prices than initially quoted is another sign of a potential scam or a potential problem company. Charging by cubic footage instead of weight can be a tactic used by fraudulent movers to overcharge customers. So asking for a contract, if a company does this before they do an in-home estimate, if a company does that and they ask you to sign a contract before conducting an in-home estimate, it's a warning sign that you really want to be cautious of. Because unless they actually see the contents of your home, what they're moving, how could they possibly give you an accurate contract? Next, the lack of third-party reviews. If you have a lot of difficulty finding any third-party reviews by reputable services like, let's say, Yelp or Trustpilot, services like that, then that should raise concerns about the legitimacy of the people that you're doing business with. So to protect yourself from moving scams, you have to exercise a little bit of vigilance. You have to do your research and recognize some of these warning signs. Always conduct thorough research because we're not talking about, spending a few $100s. We're talking about an expensive process in moving an entire household from one country to another. Now, let me explain how you can check to see if a moving company is licensed. To verify if a moving company is license, what you can do is, for example, SDC, we're part of the California Moving and Storage Association, also known as CMSA. You can call CMSA to check the license status of a moving company. Additionally, the CMSA provides information on navigating the Federal Maritime Commission, or the FMC, licensing requirements for international moving and shipping. Next, you can check for certifications. Additionally, you want to check and see if the moving company is certified by reputable organizations such as the American Moving and Storage Association, also known as the AMSA. And you can also search other online directories like the Better Business Bureau for business certifications. Next, request a free estimate. Legitimate moving companies are required by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to provide a free in-home estimate. This allows you to ask questions. This allows you to assess their professionalism and get an accurate understanding of the total costs involved. Next, of course, look for red flags. This is something that you want to do right from the beginning of the process. If you can't find any information or mention of the moving company online, or if the salespeople and movers lack identification, the company doesn't have any logos, of course, these are all red flags indicating a potential illegitimate operation. And next, you can contact consumer hotlines. You can contact the CMSA consumer hotline number, and if you're within the state of California for existence, where SDC International Shipping is, you can call 1-800-672-1415, and you can talk with the CMSA consumer hotline people. Additionally, you can file a complaint against a moving company on the BHGS website if needed, and you can check out that also. So these are just some of the steps that are involved to do your due diligence so that you make sure that you are indeed hiring a legitimate international moving company. Now, let's talk about the risks of not having insurance when you're moving internationally. Moving internationally without insurance can expose you to a whole bunch of risks. Number one, you want to look at insurance as far as quality health care goes. If you fall ill or you require medical attention in a foreign country and you don't have international health insurance, it can be challenging to receive quality health care services. That's one of the things that you want to take care of before you go through with your move. This lack of coverage can potentially jeopardize your well-being or someone in your family's well-being. And not only that, but lead to significant financial burdens by not having that adequate kind of insurance. A lot of people do this. They go for this international health insurance, and so that way they're covered properly. Then we have insurance for things like the loss or the damage of personal belongings. During an international move, your belongings are vulnerable to loss and damage during transit. Of course, a lot of precautions are taken care of, especially the better company that you go with. They have processes in place, but people are human, things happen. And without insurance, who knows what can happen during transit. You could have acts of nature, things like that are unexpected, turn up, bad storms. You never really know. Most of the time, those things don't happen, but the insurance does give you the peace of mind, because should something happen, then you would have to bear the financial consequences of anything like loss or theft or the damage that occurs. There's all kinds of insurance that you can get. You can insure specific items if you want that are extremely valuable and have the total coverage just for those items, or you can insure everything for total loss. Total loss insurance actually means just that. It doesn't mean that if one item or two items are damaged that it's covered. It only means if everything is completely lost, there is a coverage for that. So that's something you want to look into very specifically for your specific needs as far as what type of insurance that you may want to have. Also, insurance in the destination country, another thing to think about, like I was mentioning about healthcare, making sure that you have that available, or if you're going to temporarily store some of your items in your destination country, they're not going directly to your house, of course, you may look into having insurance for that. Also, you want to ask about coverage for things like mold and mildew. I know that occasionally things come into the country that are not wrapped properly. And so furniture is one of the things that comes to mind. I remember our family ordered a couch and there was a tear in the packing wrapping that went around the couch. And what happened is a little bit of mold got in there because it was in storage coming from another part of the world here into the US and held over in the factory. And so the heat and humidity got inside, and of course that damages the material. So, there's a lot of things that can happen. So insurance is just one of the things that you want to make sure you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed for your specific needs. I know sometimes people go overboard with insurance. They want to insure against every possible problem that could occur. And again, working with a professional moving company goes a long ways towards the safety of your items, from the packaging right in the beginning to the moving and the transportation to the unloading and the unpacking and putting things away. Working with a professional makes a huge difference. So in conclusion, prioritizing the safety of your belongings to ensure a smooth international move should take precedent over just going with a cheap or cost-effective option. And just like people that work with SDC International Shipping, we can tell you ways that you can save money. We can give you options. It's not that it's a one-size-fit-all type of situation. It absolutely is not that. From maybe you want to, the very beginning, pack certain things and have SDC International Shipping, or your preferred mover pack some other things. There's a lot of ways that you can navigate this entire process, but it's important that you understand it. Hopefully today's episode has helped you maybe get a little better insight into what actually goes into this so that you can ask the right questions, and then you get a better idea if you're moving with a company or working with, as far as, are your questions being answered? Are you getting what the information that you need in a timely manner? All of these things at the very beginning of the process will go a long way towards making you comfortable with whoever it is that you choose to handle your international move. Of course, I hope you choose us here at SDC International Shipping. It would be our pleasure to help you from the start of the process all the way through, because investing in a reliable and licensed moving company, having the proper insurance, it will go a long way to provide you with peace of mind, protect your assets throughout the entire moving process. So I think that does it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please go ahead and share the episode link with a friend. That'll do it for today. This is Jim, and I will see you in the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.